The Art of Leadership Network.
Hey leaders, welcome to the Lead Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Jenni Catron, founder and CEO of the Foresight Group, where we cultivate healthy leaders who lead thriving teams. This podcast is for leaders who want more than good intentions. You want clarity, confidence, and practical tools to lead well in the real world. Each week, I'll help you navigate the challenges of leadership and culture with insights that you can actually put into practice. We'll explore what it takes to lead yourself well, because how you show up shapes everything, from your decisions to your team's health and momentum. My goal is to equip you to lead with purpose, strengthen your culture, and create environments where people and organizations flourish. You'll hear honest conversations, real stories, and proven frameworks, along with insights from leaders committed to doing the work of leading well. So whether you're leading a team, an organization, or growing as a leader, you're in the right place. So let's dive in. Well, hey leaders, I'm so glad you're here today, and I'm excited to introduce today's guest. Dr. William Attaway is the CEO of Appreciation at Work, where he leads the mission of helping organizations build healthier, more engaged, and more effective workplaces through authentic appreciation and intentional leadership. A seasoned executive coach and leadership strategist, William brings over 30 years of experience equipping leaders and teams to grow, communicate, and thrive together. As the founder of Catalytic Leadership, William has guided business owners, agency leaders, and entrepreneurs to achieve transformational growth by developing the skills, strategies, and mindset necessary to lead with purpose. William is the author of several books, with his most recent being Catalytic Leadership, 12 Keys to Becoming an Intentional Leader Who Makes a Difference. He's also the host of the Catalytic Leadership Podcast, and new friend to me. We recently got connected, and I'm just so thrilled for you guys to meet Dr. William Attaway. So, William, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast today.
Jenni, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited about this.
Well, I feel like this conversation feels long overdue. We've been aware and acquainted more recently, but just so much appreciation for the work that you do, the way that you think as a leader. And I know the listeners are going to love this today. So maybe give us a little bit of backstory. You've spent decades coaching leaders, helping organizations grow, and maybe fill in the gaps of what I didn't put in the bio. And then we'll have you dive in a little more to the work you're doing today.
That sounds great. You know, my story starts when I was 15 years old. I had a high school teacher who invited me to attend my first leadership conference.
Wow.
And I was like, why?
Yeah. Yeah. What is this about?
Why me? And he saw something in me that I didn't.
That's such a gift.
Introduced me to a world that has captivated me for going on 4 decades now. As I learn more about the power of leadership, both for good and for bad.
Yep.
And what great leaders have in common. And that's really been the study of my life, is discovering what is it that makes some leaders what I call catalytic.
Yeah.
You know, where they're introduced into a situation, a company, an organization, and they begin to make outsized results. Begin to see outsized results from their leadership. What causes that?
Yeah.
That's what I've been studying for a very long time.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And just the gift of somebody seeing that young leadership potential in you, and how that just introduced you to, oh, wow, what is this? And I have, similarly, I was in my early stages of my career, and I had a leader tell me, you've got to learn to love people to lead them. And I was like, what? Good. Love and leadership, what does all of that mean? Like it did. I got my hands on my first leadership book and I never looked back. It was like, so I think those critical moments, those key moments where people see something in you, and how that just triggers this unexpected journey. At least in my case, I was like, this was not what I would have predicted for my story and my journey, but gosh, I'm so glad that's the way it's happened.
I'm the same way. I never would have predicted it. Only God. Only God.
Love that so much. Okay, so We'll probably come back because you even piqued my curiosity on the catalytic leadership and some of the research you've done on that. So I might come back to that. But more recently, you've jumped in as the CEO of Appreciation at Work. And I'd love for you to give the listeners a little backstory of that company, what you all do, and why that's been such a great fit for you in this season of your leadership.
It came out of the blue, really.
Usually how it works, isn't it?
I met Dr. Paul White just over a year ago now, and we were both at the same conference, and I got to know him and was fascinated by what he had built for the last 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
He went to see Dr. Gary Chapman, and it took him a year to get the appointment. But he went to see him and said, hey, that book, The 5 Love Languages, I think that principle, that framework could work in the workplace. He's a clinical psychologist by training.
Yeah.
And what he did with Dr. Chapman is create the 5 languages of appreciation in the workplace. And for 15 years, that's what he's been writing and speaking about. This book we're coming up on 900,000 copies sold. Here, 15 years after publication, it still sells about 3,000 copies a month. I mean, it's just crazy.
That's
because it resonates.
Yep.
And so about a year ago, I met him, and he was, he was looking to retire and to sell the business. And so we started talking to him, me and a business partner, and said, hey, what could this look like? I didn't anticipate that coming, but there it was.
Here we are.
It's all about leading people according to how they're wired, which is something I've been talking about a long time. In fact, in the book, Catalytic Leadership, that's one of the things I talk about is how people are wired differently. This is a framework that makes complete sense of that.
Yeah.
And so it was such a nice fit. And so we started talking about it and praying about it and saying, could this be the next chapter?
Yeah.
And ended up in November saying, let's go.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So give everybody, how do you, maybe start here. How do you define appreciation at work? As somebody's going, okay, I kind of probably have heard about the book, probably have heard about the 5 love languages. And my husband and I used that we were in a small group when we were newly married. And I think it was one of the most important things we've ever done. But when the 5 appreciations came out for work, I was like, this is gold because it applies. The concept applies. And I'm so grateful for the work that's been done, but maybe give everybody a little definition of, hey, what do we mean by that? What does it look like? Just give us a little bit of the pitch of appreciation at work and how leaders can engage it.
Yeah, absolutely. So most people, when they think about appreciation, they think about words. They think about, words of appreciation. Hey, I appreciate you. Well done. Way to go. Good job. But when we look at how companies are structured and how organizations are structured, 94% of companies and organizations in the US have some type of recognition program, some type of rewards program.
Wow.
Well, recognition and rewards are about performance, right? This is, hey, you hit your KPIs and exceeded them. Hey, your KRAs on target. That's what that's about. Yeah. It's about what you do. Yeah. Appreciation is not. Appreciation is about the person. Yeah. So whereas recognition and rewards, this is something that I'm going to do to show, hey, I see what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Your performance is exceeding expectations. Appreciation is about seeing them as an individual, not as a cog in a machine, but as an actual 3D human being.
Yeah.
Different people receive appreciation in different ways. Recognition and reward programs are all about the tangible things, the certificate, the plaque, the gift card. If it's a big company, maybe a trip, that's what you get. That's the recognition. These are all tangible gifts. Well, that's one language of appreciation. But we've surveyed 480,000 people who have taken our assessment to discover their language of appreciation. And out of 480,000 people, only 9% of people say their language of appreciation is tangible gifts.
Wow.
That means if what you're doing, if you're throwing gift cards and plaques and certificates at people, you're hitting 9% of them right on target.
Yep.
And 91% of them are saying, oh, well, thanks.
Yeah. And in fact, probably going, I should be more grateful for this, or, even maybe feeling a little bit bad that it isn't as meaningful as maybe it was even intended. Ooh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what the language model is a framework to help you hit the mark every time.
That's
how people are wired. you understand how they receive appreciation best, then you can lead them better.
So good.
You can help them to understand their value. When people feel known, seen, and heard, they feel valued.
Yeah.
When they feel valued, they lean in.
That's right. That's right. I was doing a training session with our network yesterday, and we were deep diving into Gallup's most recent State of the Workplace report, and that's like Christmas Day for me when that report comes out, because I just dive in and like what's going on? Tell me all the things, right? And so I was doing a training, and we were debriefing what was in the report, and I paused and was talking about, we use the phrase employee engagement so freely these days, right? Of everybody, what's your employee engagement and blah, blah, blah. But if you look at Gallup's definition of employee engagement, it's psychological attachment to your work, to your team, and to your organization. Well, how do you have psychological attachment? And I'm not a psychologist, but I want to feel seen, known, and belong in order to have a level of attachment that really helps me be engaged. And so I'm personally connecting all these dots and saying, this makes so much sense, because I do think, to your point, so many organizations have recognition programs, and those are not bad. We do need to measure what people are doing and reward them for
100%.
what they are doing and what they're producing. But if we're lacking that awareness of, you said, I think it this way, seeing them as individuals, like seeing that individual, knowing what matters and motivates them, not like as a person, gosh, that's a whole part of the equation that we're missing to help them have that psychological attachment to their work, their team, and the organization. So I just see how big of a piece of the puzzle this is. And I wonder, what's your finding on this, William? Is it just a lack of awareness of the need to do that? Is it not knowing how to do it? Or is it just we're so busy we don't even care to do it?
Yeah, it's all the above. And busyness is the number one reason people give for why they're not doing this.
Okay.
I'm too busy. I can't do one more thing.
Right.
We talk to business owners. We talk to people who are managing large departments and teams. They're like, are you giving me one more thing to do? Really?
Yeah.
Like, really? Yeah. I don't need one more thing to do. So busyness is number one, right? Number two is a misconception around what this means. They're like, look, I told them they were doing a good job.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay, well, words of affirmation is one of the languages, right? And that's great. You should leverage that. Again, looking at 480,000 people who've taken the assessment, 44% of people identifies their language as words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Great. But that means 56% are something else.
Right.
So if that's all you're using, then you're missing more than half your team. So one problem is people will say, well, I told them they were doing a good job and it didn't land.
Mm-hmm.
Well, more than half your team, that's not their language. So there's a misconception that I've tried this already and it didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you tried it. And understanding that words of affirmation is not just saying, good job.
Yeah.
Good job is what I tell my dog. Good job. Go outside. Hey, good job. You did good. Come on back inside. I mean, that's what you tell your dog.
Right.
What is words of affirmation in the workplace? Well, this is being specific. Yeah. This is saying, hey, Jenny, I know you put in some serious time into that presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And the feedback we have gotten from the client is over the moon. Like they are clapping like seals. And that's because of your hard work. So you did that. And that's going to mean we land this client. And I just want you to know, and way to go. We appreciate it. Like, what have I done there? I'm specific. I'm personal.
Mm-hmm.
I make you feel seen and known. Yeah. Like I recognize what you've done here. And I talk about the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good example of words of affirmation. Good job. Good. Not exactly hitting the mark, you know?
Yeah. Gosh, that's so good. That's so good. What are some of the companies that you've worked with that are doing this well? What are they doing that is different from an organization? I mean, obviously just doing it is one thing, but like you gave us a couple examples there. Give us a picture of like a company that really embraces this. Their leaders are operating in the languages. What does that look like?
You know, I think about a company in the Pacific Northwest as a mining company, and they began to apply this. They said, hey, we think this could make a difference. One of the biggest problems that we see, particularly in the trades, is high churn. high turnover.
Sure. Yep.
Well,
Yep.
one of the things we talk about is how if you apply this framework, it will increase your retention. And they were very interested in that. They're like, we're all in. So they didn't make the number one mistake I see, which is that companies and organizations treat this like a one-off initiative. We're going to come, we're going to do a training, everybody's going to do the assessment. It's a 1 hour time block in our day. And then we never talk about it again. Okay. That's a terrible idea. Don't do that.
Exactly.
This is not a one-off initiative.
Yep.
This is a change that you want to see soak into the DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And so for that to happen, you've got to make this part of your daily habit. What we saw this company do is they began to make this a part of their team meetings. When they would have a meeting, somewhere in the meeting, they would create a moment where they would talk about this. It could be 2-minute drop-in, right? But hey, I know for some of you, this is your language. Let's talk about what that looks like this week. And it would just be a quick thing. Quarterly, they would make an initiative push about it. And they would say, hey, we all did this. This is part of who we are and who we want to become. And so let's talk about that. We're going to spend some intentional time talking about it, doing some increased training on this.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things that they did, everybody in the company took the assessment and discovered their language of appreciation. They had stickers made, and the stickers were representing each of the 5 languages. And they put the stickers on their helmets.
Love it.
So all you had to do was look at a team member and you saw what their language of appreciation was. It completely changed their day-to-day. They saw retention rise, churn drop, and their culture just got healthier.
So good.
I loved it because they owned it. They stepped into it and said, we're not going to just treat this like a one-off thing we never talk about again. We're going to make this part of our day-to-day.
Yeah. Gosh. Okay. And then I'm thinking, this is a mining company.
Right.
This is the trades. I'm like, did they get some eye rolls at first from some of
100%.
those dudes who were like, what is this? This is dumb. I would assume, right? So how did they overcome that barrier?
The biggest key to overcoming that, and you will, some people are going to see any change or any new thing that way. Just take a given. And if you're a leader, you know that, right? And so the key is consistency. The key is consistency. We're not going to stop here. A friend of mine says consistency is the mother of momentum. Everybody wants momentum. Consistency is how you get there. And so that's what they did. They just day in, day out, week in, week out, quarter in, quarter out, they continued to keep it in front of people.
So good.
And that's what changed. And what we have seen is that companies and organizations that adopt the languages framework, when they do, and they go in, they see on average a 22% increase in productivity. Okay. That's with no additional headcount. 22% increase in productivity because people are engaged, because they feel seen, heard, known, and valued, and they lean in.
So good.
And when people lean in on your team, man, they're going to do more. They're going to accomplish more.
Totally.
It's just how it works.
Yeah. You and again, we're preaching to the choir here, talking to one another because we both love this stuff and get it so much. But that's the thing that I think both you and I in the work that we do, we're like, if you could see that this work actually connects to every other metric that you're worried about, right? That it actually influences all of those metrics. And when you start explaining it that way, you're like, oh, yes, absolutely. That makes sense. Absolutely. That makes sense. I was talking to a leader the other day who their culture's in a really unhealthy place. And we were talking about some of the employee engagement stuff. And he said, I see it. I completely see it because right now we have so much friction, so much tension, the inability to get anything done because we don't have engagement is so clear. But I think for a lot of us, we aren't in crisis mode with our cultures. We might just be somewhat mediocre and we don't realize the churn that's happening in our organization, the productivity that we're losing because our employees aren't engaged at a significant level. So fantastic. And I love what you said there about your friend's quote, consistency is the mother of momentum. We say all the time in the lead culture framework, patient and persistent, simple and consistent. This isn't a one-time initiative. This is a commitment to building this stuff into the rhythms of what you do organizationally. And for friends that are listening that are lead culture fans and you have the framework, the appreciation at work resources are a great they dovetail with our overall framework in that these are the kind of tools and resources that just are part of how you can think about your culture as a whole. So I think great tools like this are just so incredibly valuable to building an environment where employees are just thriving. So good. So let's look at it this way, William, for a minute. What happens culturally when people do not feel seen or valued over time? Like what's the downside of this when we don't do this work?
What we have seen is that when people are disengaged, right? And this is across a lot of different industries. This is not industry specific.
Yeah.
We've worked with companies from Meta to Caterpillar, from Procter and Gamble to the Savannah Bananas, right? I mean, like totally different industries, right?
Yeah.
But this is true across the board. When people feel disengaged, they begin to lean out.
Mm-hmm.
You see an increase in tardiness or sick leave. And I put sick in quotes because sometimes they're just kind of sick of being there.
Yeah.
You see those metrics begin to climb. You see people showing up in meetings without really showing up. They're there physically,
right,
but they're not sharing ideas like they used to. They're not taking initiative like they used to. They're showing up. They do what's asked, but you're moving very much into a minimum standards.
Yeah.
When people don't feel engaged, they drift, Jenny. And I have never yet seen anybody drift into excellence.
Right.
We drift into mediocrity or worse.
Yep.
And that's what happens when you are not engaging people. When people don't feel seen, heard, and valued, they drift.
Do you feel like we're getting better at this or worse at this as just in our organizational cultures at large?
Boy, do I want to say we're getting better at this. I want to say that because I'm an optimist and I want to say we're up and to the right here. That's not what the data is showing. Yeah. I mean, I've been going through the same Gallup report and looking at this and 20% of employees worldwide are engaged.
Yeah, it's painful.
Here in North America, and we outperform that. We're at 31%. Ooh, yay.
Yay. Okay. Like if less than 1 in 3 of your team members, every time I tell somebody that stat, they're like, because they're like, less than 1 in 3 of my team members are engaged. According to the data, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly
it. Heartbreaking.
Which means they're starting to drift.
Yeah, right.
Or they've been drifting for a bit.
Yeah. Yep.
We do not see that number going up. Yeah. We see that number continuing to drop. And that is heartbreaking to me. Yeah. I'm a firm believer that you have what you allow as a leader.
Yeah.
And if you don't like what you have, then you change what you tolerate. You change what you allow, right? We get to create the culture that we want to live in.
That's right.
If we're not intentional about it, we're going to see results like we're seeing.
Yeah. 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 The stewardship of people, like if I can synthesize everything I do, it's like, that's the phrase, the stewardship of people. Yes, and when I hear that data, only 31% of US workers are engaged in their work. I'm like, only 31%. That means 69% of people going to work day in and day out are not finding significance and value in bringing their gifts and talents to the work that they do for the better part of their day. Yes. And that to me is a heartbreaking, misuse of giftedness. Now, it could be on the individual's part and it could be on the organization's part of the culture that they're creating and how well they are engaging employees. And I operate from the philosophy that Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership. So I think we have to look first as leaders to say, are we creating environments that allow people to show up and be engaged, to use their gifts, to have that psychological attachment to their work, their team, and the organization. And so saying, okay, what do we need to do first to create an environment that creates that? And so again, that's why I just love what you guys are doing and that you're giving really tangible resources to help leaders know this is how we do it. This is how we help engage people by showing appreciation in meaningful ways that helps them connect. What are some of the habits that healthy leaders consistently practice that maybe unhealthy leaders neglect? What would you, and it doesn't have to be related specifically to appreciation at work. I know your catalytic leadership stuff also speaks to this, but just compare and contrast. What are some things we should be doing as a healthy leader that maybe unhealthy or just less intentional leaders are not doing?
That's a great question. I think the first thing that comes to mind is a healthy leader is increasing in self-awareness.
Yeah. Gosh,
Unhealthy leaders are not.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is not a flower that is planted in everybody's garden. And that's okay. That's where you are, maybe, but you can change that. And I
Yeah.
think there are some very intentional ways to do that, to increase your self-awareness. We talk about the appreciation at work, the assessment that you take to discover your language of appreciation. That is a tool to increase your self-awareness.
So
How
good.
do I receive appreciation? Now, that's the beginning point. That's your first step, right?
Mhm.
As a leader, what are you doing to increase your awareness of your blind spots?
Yeah.
I've had a coach for decades,
Mhm.
different coaches in different areas of my life. And the reason that I do that is because I have blind spots. And the funny thing about a blind spot is you don't know you have it, but everybody else does.
Yep. Like, I don't have any blind spots.
Right. I see it all with clarity. That would be great if that were true, but that's not my experience.
Not mine either. Not mine either. So good.
I think that having somebody on the outside to help you see what you can't see is an absolute necessity for a leader who wants to grow in this.
Yeah.
You cannot see, and neither can I, the whole picture when we're in the frame. You can't.
Yeah.
You need somebody on the outside who's going to ask you questions that maybe nobody else in your world is going to ask you to help you see what you can't see. That is one of the ways that I see leaders really move beyond mediocrity into excellence.
Yeah.
And so if you want to grow self-awareness, number one.
Yeah. So powerful. And I don't know about you, and you kind of said this, but I need new and different ways to be helping me grow in that self-awareness, right? That there's,
100%.
Different coaches, different leaders, different tools that just continue to help illuminate places that I haven't seen yet in my own journey and story.
100%.
So well said. Okay, here's a great question for you. How do leaders maintain accountability and high standards while still building a culture of encouragement? So I think sometimes we're afraid, if we all do all this appreciation and encouragement stuff, how do we hold them accountable? What do those things look like in tandem?
I think this is where, like you said earlier, we have to couple recognition and appreciation.
Yeah.
This is not an either or, it's a both and.
Good.
I'm going to measure KPIs for my team. I'm going to do that. It's how I'm wired. They know that. I want them to know exactly what a win is. I want them to know what the center of the bullseye is, the one sentence job description, right?
Yep.
If I don't define the win for them, they are going to guess. And in my experience, most often they are going to guess incorrectly. My job as a leader is to increase clarity.
Yeah.
And I love what Brené Brown says about this. Clarity is kindness. Okay. That's true with other people. It's most often true with yourself, right? I want to be clear. So the KPIs, the metrics that we are going to measure performance are not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's
At
right.
the same time, they are not just what they do.
Yeah.
They are not just a sum of their actions and performance.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Everybody I know has a bad quarter every once in a while.
That's right. Yep.
Everybody I know has a bad day, a bad week, a bad month. And we've got to allow for that. And especially as followers of Jesus, I think it is our responsibility to wrap grace into this.
Yeah.
Grace is not an excuse where we baptize low performance. It is not something where we say we're going to tolerate mediocrity, right? That's why we never compromise the KPIs.
That's great.
But I'm also never going to compromise the appreciation of the individual, seeing them as what I believe Scripture is very clear about, that every single person is created in the image of God. If that is true, that changes the way I think about them and the way I speak to them, I treat them.
Yeah.
And I think you've got to couple both of those things together. It's not an either or. Both
Yes. Yeah. Gosh, that's so good, William. So good. And such a good reminder. Because do you find that leaders tend to lean to one or the other? They tend to be about the recognition, the rewards, the metrics, the expectations and performance, or they might lean towards more of the relational. They do that really well, but it's that balance of both. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And the thing I always think about is something I heard Andy Stanley say one time, that, that we tend to lean either toward truth or we lean toward grace.
Yeah.
But John 1 tells us Jesus was full to the brim of both.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. What does it look like for me to be full to the brim of measuring performance and showing appreciation? Full to the brim of both, because that's really what we're talking about here.
That's so good. Yep.
I gotta keep that as a leader forefront all the time and never compromise on that and never fall into my predilection, which is to tilt.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because I think the thing I notice in myself is I will lean towards one or the other very naturally. And then I've had the seasons where I've been too much on one and I've course corrected too much, overcorrected to the other. And or let's say I'm frustrated with a team member who is maybe not meeting expectations on the performance side. And then I'll have a tendency to want to shut down the appreciation side because I'm fixated on, I've got to focus on this piece, right?
That's right.
I love the full to the brim of both, right? You don't sacrifice either of them. You bring both of them fully. Gosh, that's such a great visual. Okay. We've already covered we've covered some ground in 30 minutes and I could do so much more. I want to ask you this question though, because we're in this crazy, crazy season right now with everybody's fearful of what AI is doing and how it's impacting our work. And I think appropriately so, there's a lot of people really fighting for the human component and staying very human in our work. I feel like what you guys are doing aligns so deeply to that. So words of wisdom, coaching for us as we're trying to figure out as leaders how to navigate a workplace that's just getting so shuffled by AI and what it's going to mean. There's so many unknowns, there's so many fears. How are you encouraging leaders to stay deeply human in this era of work?
That is such a timely question. I had a conversation with a client about a month ago who came to me and said his team was terrified that they were going to be let go and replaced with AI.
Yeah.
And they were all just, basically shaking in their boots.
Yeah.
And we started talking about it. And I said, so what have you done to talk about this with them? Well, I've mentioned it a time or two, that we're using it, but we're not going to replace it. I said, okay, you got to call the elephant in the room out.
That's right.
Because when you do that, you take away some of its power. You got to talk about this and you got to be honest about it.
Yeah.
And you got to let them know that you value them as individuals, the appreciation part.
Yeah.
But we're going to leverage this tool to help us on the performance part.
Completely.
Right? It's a tool.
Completely.
That's great. Another friend of mine, Jonathan Mast, he says this, and I love it. He says that AI is not going to replace people. Right? People who know how to use AI are going to replace people who don't.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. That's the right framing.
Yeah.
And I think as leaders, if we come to our teams and we're honest and open about this and say, I want you to learn this. I want you to leverage this where it's appropriate. But it is never going to replace the conversation, the relationship, the humanization of what we do. It's never going to replace that. And reassure them. Part of our job as leaders sometimes is to provide that reassurance.
That's right.
That you are in fact valued. And as much as I love Claude does not replace you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well said. Well said. And I think you nailed it in that conversation earlier, when you were sharing the leader that you were talking to, in that we have to be anticipating or tuning into the fears, the questions, the concerns that team members have, because we're sitting in the seat of leadership and we know, we're going to use it this way. I don't know exactly what impact it's going to have, but I'm not, and so because we're in the seat of decision making, we're wondering what all it's going to do and how it's going to impact, but we're not fearing for our exact job the way that some of our team members are. And so then again, how much more appreciation at work is critical in being able to make sure we're seeing them, honoring them, celebrating them, calling out the good in them, helping them know we see and appreciate what they bring. And to your point, also acknowledging it's a tool. We've got to figure it out. It's going to impact our business. So we're all going to learn how to use this together, but calling it out and naming it and not leaving it unsaid. That's been my biggest encouragement to leaders right now is you just have to be thinking about what's your team thinking, feeling, questioning, what is that elephant in the room? And you've got to name it and acknowledge it and actually have conversations around it. So well said. All right, William, how can we learn more about appreciation at work? Find you, find your podcast, find your book. Tell us all the ways to connect with you more.
You can go to appreciationatwork.com. That's kind of the hub for everything that we do, from the assessment, the books that we have, the training that we do. We come, we speak to teams, we work with them, we come alongside them on an ongoing basis, with the training and coaching we do around people issues and help them understand how to make their culture one of appreciation. That's a direction I love. That's near and dear to my heart because I think every person matters. And when we run our businesses that way, when we lead our teams that way, we see a major difference. See an ROI at the bottom line. Yeah. The podcast that I host is the Catalytic Leadership Podcast. And you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can go to catalyticleadership.net to find out more about the show and everything I'm doing on that side of the world. I'm looking forward to having you as a guest on that show coming up here.
I'm excited. Yeah, looking forward to it. That's going to be fun. That's going to be great. Awesome. Well, we will make sure that we link to all of those things in the show notes. Dr. Attaway, any last bit of encouragement you'd give to a leader who's listening today?
I would say this, that so often we can feel like a victim of the circumstances around us, whether it's the rise of AI or the dysfunction in our organization or company or even our team. And I get that. That's real. Mm-hmm. But the challenge and the encouragement that I would give to every leader listening is this. You get to choose. You get to choose the environment that you're going to create. No matter where you are in the organization, you get to choose the environment you create as a leader. And I want to challenge you to actually make that choice. Step beyond the victim mindset. Step into the understanding that you get to choose.
So well said. Thank you so much for investing in us today. I'm so grateful for the work that you've done, the opportunity to connect with you and keep learning from the work that you're doing, Dr. Attaway. So good. Friends, I know that you enjoyed this episode, and I would encourage you, please rate, review it, share it. Share this with your team, share it with your coworkers, share it with a leader in your life that you know would value learning from today's episode. And then we will see you back next time. Thanks, everybody.